Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Reading from Srimad-Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 13, Text number 22.
20.
Okay. Andaha pura eva vadhiro. Andaha puraiva vadhiro. Mandha pragnaha cha sampratham. Mandha pragnascha sampratham. Vishirna dantaha manda agnihi. Vishirna danto mandagnihi. Saragaha kapam udvahan. Saragaha kapam udvahan. Andaha puraiva vadhiro. Manda pragnascha sampratham. Vishirna danto mandagnihi. Saragaha kapamudvahan. Andaha puraiva vadhiro. Manda pragnascha sampratham. Vishirna danto mandagnihi. Saragaha kapamudvahan. Andaha puraiva vadhiro. Manda pragnascha sampratham. Vishirna danto mandagnihi. Saragaha kapamudvahan. Andaha, blind. Pura, from the beginning. Eva, certainly. Vadhiraha, hard of hearing. Manda pragnaha, memory shortened. Cha, and. Sampratham, recently. Vishirna, loosened. Dantaha, teeth. Manda agnihi, liver action decreased. Saragaha, with sound. Kapam, coughing much mucus. Udvahan, coming out. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. And recently, you have become hard of hearing. Your memory is shortened, and your intelligence is disturbed. Your teeth are loose, your liver is defective, and you're coughing up mucus. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. The symptoms of old age, which had already developed in Dhritarashtra, were all, one after another, pointed out to him as warning that death was nearing very quickly. And still he was foolishly carefree about his future. The signs pointed out by Vidura in the body of Dhritarashtra were signs of apakshaya, or dwindling of the material body before the last stroke of death. The body is born, it develops, stays, creates other bodies, dwindles, and then vanishes. But foolish men want to make a permanent settlement of the perishable body and think that their estate, children, society, country, etc. will give them protection. With such foolish ideas, they become overtaken by such temporary engagements and forget altogether that they must give up this temporary body and take a new one, again to arrange for another term of society, friendship and love, again to perish ultimately. They forget their permanent identity and become foolishly active for impermanent occupations, forgetting altogether their prime duty. Saints and sages like Vidura approach such foolish men to awaken them to the real situation. But they take such sadhus and saints as parasites of society, and almost all of them refuse to hear the words of such sadhus and saints, although they welcome show-bottle sadhus and so-called saints who can satisfy their senses. Vidura was not a sadhu to satisfy the ill-gotten sentiment of Dhritarashtra. He was correctly pointing out the real situation of life and how one can save oneself from such catastrophes. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purport. Om Ajnana Timirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitan Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swamin Iti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shrivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So we are reading this chapter of the Srimad-Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Dhritarashtra quits home. And today's verse, Vidura is pointing out to Dhritarashtra about his dwindling body. Andaha Puraiva. From birth you are blind. And Vadiraha. And now you are getting old, your hearing is not functioning. You are becoming hard of hearing. Vidura must be preaching to him with that really loud voice because he is Vadiraha. Manda prajna, memory is failing. Cha sampratam, recently. All this is happening to you now. Vishirna dantaha, teeth are becoming loosened. Mandagni, the stomach, the liver, not functioning. The fire is going down. Saragaha kapam udvahan, and you are coughing up mucus and making saragaha with a lot of sound. Vidura's point is, he's trying to help his brother to recognize the imminent death. In fact, an important characteristic of human intelligence is our ability to recognize and thereby act on the imminent death. I remember once I was preaching to a small group of people, at least one or two of them from abroad, NRIs. And then I started telling them that how human intelligence is special, much more than animals, and our consciousness is more developed. I was giving all of those kind of arguments and reasoning. And then one of the persons there, a little elderly man, he got a little upset and he said, not immediately, a little while later, he said that this is you see, Swamiji, I'm an animal lover, he said. And then he said, I've heard this is a kind of a human supremacist argument. That we are human beings, we are very big, we are very powerful, and all those kind of things. You know, animals also, they are intelligent in their own way. In some have one kind of ability, another animal has another kind of ability. And it's not that the human being is the most intelligent and most... this is some kind of an arrogance of a human being, and he brought all those kind of arguments. And then I was thinking what to argue, what to tell him, and so on. It so happened that some of them who were in touch with some Krishna conscious arguments, among themselves they started some kind of an argument, and then another person started pointing out, which is actually a sound argument which Srila Prabhupada gives to. The most important thing that distinguishes human intelligence, which is very, very special, is that we can recognize. Prabhupada gave the example, in a slaughterhouse, there is a goat. The butcher has slaughtered the goat and hung the meat, waiting for a customer to come and buy that. And there's another goat, and the two goats had grown up for a long time. They were brothers, like brother and sister, or friends. And this goat saw his other goat being slaughtered and hung there. But this goat cannot recognize that I will also be killed one day like this. This goat is sitting there, and the butcher has given some green grass. There's a little something to munch and chew. And this goat is thinking, oh, my master is such a kind master. He has given me so much green grass today. And I'm so lucky today. I'm so happy today. Look, I've got so much green grass to chew. The stupid goat cannot realize, cannot see that my death is just approaching me. This is the distinguishing feature of human intelligence. Animals cannot recognize that, nor can animals do something to act on the basis of that information. They don't recognize that. They cannot assimilate that information. Their brains, their consciousness don't have that power. That is the special thing about human consciousness. And Vedic literatures point out this and say, urge human beings to act. And that is what Vidura is doing to Dhritarashtra in all of these arguments. In fact, if someone does not want to take Krishna consciousness seriously, if you don't want to take Krishna consciousness seriously, don't read this chapter of the Srimad-Bhagavatam. Because the kind of arguments that Vidura is giving and the kind of explanation that Srila Prabhupada is giving, at the end of this chapter, you will be convinced, which I must take to Krishna consciousness very, very seriously. Now, it's good to recognize certain things. The symptoms of old age which had already developed in Dhritarashtra were all one after another pointed out to him as warning that death was nearing very quickly. And still he was foolishly carefree about his future. So we should recognize this. What is this death phenomena? Death phenomena is a very personal phenomenon. All of us have to experience that personally. It's a personal phenomenon and it's a private phenomenon. And I have to experience it myself privately. I can't say, my family members, they all love me so much. And I can't say, I'm dying. Please, my dear family members, please come along with me. No. Even if they want to, mostly they will not be willing to. Even if they want to, they cannot participate. It is our own personal, individual, private experience. And it is an inescapable experience. No one can escape that. Has anybody escaped in the history of humanity? No one. And it is singly experienced. Private, personal, individual, singly experienced, inescapable reality. It's an inescapable phenomenon. And shouldn't we know more about it? Shouldn't we know how to handle it successfully? Shouldn't we take it seriously? What's going to happen after that? So, somehow, human intelligence, human beings, because of the power of illusion, fails to recognize this. I've told one story, maybe in the past, now and then. This happened in our temple here in Bangalore, many years ago. There was one young boy, I think he had just finished his college, and he had come in touch with our temple, and he wanted to join the temple. Sometimes that happens, and the whole family was against it. And finally, on this particular occasion, the whole family, the boy, the father, the mother, one sister, and one brother, one grandfather, and one grandmother, all of them landed up in the temple, and they wanted to know what's going on. And we want to talk to who the temple people are. And then they were brought to me. And then I looked at the whole composition of the family, and I was wondering. And then they were telling. And then the grandfather, he started speaking. I am 78 years old, and I still think I'm very young, and I have more time in the future to read Bhagavad Gita, and I have not started reading Bhagavad Gita. Look at my grandson, he is only 20, and he is quoting Bhagavad Gita shloka, and he is talking about Bhagavad Gita. Who has spoiled his head? Like that, this kind of thing. And then I heard all their different arguments, and the mother and the father, and this and that. And then I tried to tell the boy also, okay, looks like they're not so keen, you must continue. From home I tried something, and then the matter was settled after about an hour of talk and so on. And then towards the end, when they were about to go, I said, my dear grandfather, you said that you are a 78-year young man, okay, not an old man, 78-year young man. I think it is important for you to start reading Bhagavad Gita. Leave your grandson, at least you must read a Bhagavad Gita, and if you want some help, our organization will be, our temple will be very happy to help you read and appreciate the Bhagavad Gita. And then I sort of spoke like that. See, look at people. Man has become 78 years. Okay, let's take his expression. 78 years young. And what's going to happen to him in his life? And when will he start understanding the concepts of spiritual life? And how will he practice that? And how can he derive benefit from that at that age? Of course, age is no bar. But if he is saying that I have still not taken it seriously and I am thinking I have got long time to go, this is a kind of a misconception. Spiritual life requires serious deliberation, serious understanding, serious learning, serious training. Somehow people put that aside. And this is what Vidura is trying to urge Dhritarashtra, that he shouldn't do that. Very often in our temple, as devotees, not only in the temple, even when we go out. I remember when I went out to Vidhan Soda one day, chasing some file, many years ago. And then people would meet me in the corridor. I was waiting for some officer or something. And then invariably they'll come and say, Swami, can you see my hand and can you do some prediction? Because they think that we are in the sadhu dress and we must be doing some prediction. In fact, we had a counter in our temple, soon after our temple began, and for many years after that also we used to have. And there were devotees taking turns, and we had one poster, Athato Brahma Jignasa, now is the time to inquire, all your spiritual questions answered. And then the devotee would sit and wait for people to come. 99% would just pass by. No one is interested in Brahma Jignasa. And 1% who would come by, good number of them would ask, can you do some prediction? So actually, we can do some prediction. Yes, we are good astrologers, we can say. We can look at somebody and say, oh, look at your hand. And then we can say, one day, this line, it indicates after some number of years you are going to become andaha. Your vision is going to become duller and duller. I went to, we have a devotee who is an optometrist, like who fixes, gives you the spectacles and all that. And then when I went, she's a devotee of our temple. When I went to her, she said, Prabhu, I knew one day you will come. I was wondering, how did you know? She said, Prabhu, after 50 years, the eye you need a lens, you need glasses. And then she also told me, Prabhu, after 5 more years, again you will come. Because after 5 years, every 5 years, it deteriorates further, and you need a change of lens. So I thought, she's an astrologer, right? She doesn't need to be, she can predict. So like that, I can say, oh, andaha. And then I can say, oh, this line, it shows, it is, at some point you will become, your hearing will fade, vadhiraha. And then I can say, oh, this line, manda prajnaha, your intelligence will fade. And then I can say, oh, this line shows, vishirna dantaha, your tooth will one by one start falling. And this line shows, mandagnihi, your digestion will come down. So we can predict also. But of course, people are not interested in this kind of prediction. They want to know some fortunes on this and that and all this. So the point is that our body is going to dwindle. Somehow we are so spirited that we want to enjoy this material body as much as possible. And we don't take these signs as indications of death approaching, and we must prepare ourselves for that. So this is the nature of this illusion in this material world. In fact, there is one expression for this. It's called the ostrich syndrome. Ostrich syndrome is denying or refusing to acknowledge something that is blatantly obvious, as if the head were in the sand. It's actually not true, but it's a legend to say that an ostrich buries its head in sand and fails to recognize some danger. You know, some danger is there and you look at it, oh, it's very fearful and all of these kind of things. So sometimes people don't like to see dangerous things. It is said that this ostrich syndrome happens among some businessmen who are investing and such things. They want to shut off some financial information coming because they see that some kind of a negative things going on and they want to shut off their minds to that one. So they call that an ostrich syndrome. So we all do this. And we somehow don't think about death. Death is such a thing that you cannot escape. And shouldn't we prepare for that? Shouldn't we know more about it? Somehow we put that aside. And this kind of I experienced that when I was very young, when I was in college, and I started reading Srila Prabhupada's books. And when you start reading Srila Prabhupada's book, you start seeing this so logically, so much with reason and argument. Srila Prabhupada presents Krishna consciousness. It is, you get so convinced, and then next thing that you want to do is you want to go and talk about it to others, right? It has happened to everybody. And so I did the same thing. I came home and I started talking to my parents. And then one day I started telling my mother about death and such things one evening. And immediately she said, shh, don't talk about inauspicious things like death. You know, after the evening lights have been turned on in the house, you should not talk about death. You know, of course, my mother was a simple woman. But just see, there is a kind of a cultural ostrich syndrome that after evening lights are turned on, don't talk about inauspicious things like the death. So we somehow put aside discussion about death. It's very fearful. We know that death is, we have made so many plans in our life, it's going to crush all those plans. And we don't want that to happen. That's why we close our eyes to it. We don't want to think about it. But just because we don't think about it, we want to close our eyes to it. It's not that it's not going to happen. So human life is meant for having a mature conversation about this and finding a solution. And that's what the Vedic literature is offering. So this is what Vidura is trying to do to Dhritarashtra. And telling him that all these signs are manifesting. You're going to die. You should prepare for that. That's the whole thing that's happening here. And let's see some of the very, very beautiful. Prabhupada's writings are so wonderful. The body is born, it develops, stays, creates other bodies, dwindles, and then vanishes. You see, all our bodies go through this. I've seen one picture. Some years ago it came in the newspaper. It's a black and white picture. Jawaharlal Nehru standing in front of one mic. It's a black and white picture of him speaking. The photograph is taken from here. And there's a huge gathering of people. And then it says 1950 or 49 or something like that. Jawaharlal Nehru, outside of Delhi, there was a rally that was going on in a village called Gurugram. Today that's the Gurgaon, the city that's transformed in Gurugram. And he was addressing some 40,000 people. And then you can see, in the picture I could see, there were a few faces in the front, and then it goes on an ocean of people. When I was looking at that, I was thinking, and Jawaharlal Nehru is pointing something in a very animated way. He's trying to speak something, addressing those people. So, look at that. All the bodies, all the people that we are seeing there, all the human beings that are there, including our Prime Minister, former Prime Minister Jawaharlal, everyone's body has vanished. Isn't it? Maybe there are saying maybe somebody was carrying a baby and the baby may be still around. 1950, how many years? 70 years. Maybe there are a few. But by and large, just see, like this in every generation, bodies come, it grows, it stays, produces few more bodies, begins to dwindle and vanish. It's gone. We may capture in a photograph or something like that, but actually that body is gone. This is the reality about this body. This body will be gone in a few years. And then Prabhupada says, but foolish men want to make a permanent settlement of the perishable body and think that their estate, children, society, country, etc. will give them protection. This is our hope. We want to enhance our estate. We want to have a nice family with children and so on. And then we think that my society, I work for the society, my society, or my country. I come from a very powerful country. We have our defense, our technology, and science, and economy, everything is very powerful. And so I belong to that country, and they feel very proud about it. But none of these things are actually going to help us. They are not going to save us. So that's why Prabhupada is pointing out. Foolish men want to make a permanent settlement. We want to make a permanent settlement of the perishable body. We are having a perishable body, but our hope is to make a permanent settlement with this perishable body. Look at the foolishness. That's why Prabhupada begins by saying, foolish men want to make a permanent settlement of the perishable body and think that their estate, children, society, country, etc. will give them protection. With such foolish ideas, they become overtaken by such temporary engagements and forget altogether that they must give up this temporary body and take a new one, again to arrange for another term of society, friendship and love, again to perish ultimately. So we become engaged in these kind of temporary engagements. Then the body dies. Then again we take birth. Once again, my family, my love, and society, friendship, and love. You see, there are people who are very, very patriotic. My country, and all over the world there are people like that. And yes, it sort of, it gives you, oh, all my country, my countrymen, and it sort of charges you and it makes you feel good. It has some place in the material world, in the vyavaharic matters. But beyond that, we should see what is this country and my identification with that country. And my next life, which country I will identify. I feel so strongly for that country. And then in my previous life, I felt for some other country. What is going on? So this inquisitiveness, this curiosity, this understanding, I must know all these things. What is going on is an important thing. And then Prabhupada says, they forget their permanent identity. So that means there is a permanent identity. I take on one identity is, that feeling that I'm a man, I'm a woman, I'm young, I'm old, I'm a doctor, I'm an engineer, I'm rich, I'm poor, I'm intelligent, I'm stupid. These kind of descriptions of our identity that we have. And we have one identity in our previous life, we had another identity. And in future we will have yet another identity. So, what is my thing? I keep changing, is it? Do I have a permanent identity? You see, this is the important thing that we have to find out. And so Prabhupada is saying, they forget their permanent identity and become foolishly active for impermanent occupations, forgetting altogether their prime duty. So we have a permanent identity, and to discover the permanent identity is the prime duty of a human being. This is the message of the Vedic literature. We have a permanent identity. What is that permanent identity? We take on different identities in this material world, life after life after life, but all of them just vanish. To understand what is my permanent identity. This is what Krishna teaches very systematically. First of all, Krishna says that try to distinguish that you have a body, but your identity is actually not coming from the body, it is from the soul. And that soul is the permanent thing. The body is undergoing changes and the body will vanish. The soul will take on another body next. This is going on. So you have to find out what is the true nature of that soul. And the true nature of the soul is that it is part and parcel of Krishna. And being a part and parcel of Krishna, the soul is meant to serve Krishna. This is what Chaitanya Mahaprabhu points out. Jivere Swarupoi Krishnera Nityadas. The Swarupa, the permanent identity is called Swarupa of every Jiva is Krishna Nityadas, is the eternal servant of Krishna. Forgetting their prime duty, and to understand this is the prime duty of human life. So these are all, this is the important message of the Vedic literatures. Somehow we set aside our prime duty and become so absorbed in impermanent activities, temporary activities of this material body. And then Prabhupada is saying, saints and sages like Vidura approach such foolish men to awaken them to the real situation. This is the duty of saints, sadhus. It is their duty to awaken the common people to the real situation. Saints and sages like Vidura. But that foolish people take such sadhus and saints as parasites of society. I remember when I was taking to Krishna consciousness and I was planning to join the temple. At that time, somebody, I don't remember who, some family member or some friend, somebody, they pointed at this. Don't become a parasite in the society. by becoming a sadhu. So they think that sadhus are parasites in the society. Look at the situation. Look at the understanding of the people. And that argument really struck me, because it really makes you feel very bad, isn't it? Oh my God, by becoming a spiritualist, by taking to spiritual activities, by taking to spiritual life seriously, somebody is saying that you're going to become a parasite in the society. See, it's a very hard-hitting argument, and it really hit me too. But then it took a few days for me, maybe a few days or weeks or so. Again, I started reading Prabhupada's books, and then, no, these sadhus and sages make an important contribution in the human society. Some people in the human society, when they hear about this message, about the prime duty of life, they somehow, by God's blessing, God's grace, by the spiritual master's grace, they somehow become very serious about it, and they want to set aside everything else in their life and want to pursue that. They want to do that, practice that themselves, and they want to help others do that. That's a very noble profession. It's not a parasite. They are not parasites in the society. That's a very, very, somebody who is so attached to the material world, enjoy the material world, they want all their material plans. They come up with this kind of arguments. So the sages, the saints and sages are not parasites in the society. They have realized the importance of this, and they are practicing it, and they go about telling others so that they can revive their spiritual life also. And our country has so many sages and saints. And were they all parasites of the society? Is it a right estimation to say that they are parasites of the society? It's a very, very wrong thing. But of course, that kind of an understanding exists. And then Prabhupada says, and almost all of them refuse to hear the words of such sadhus and saints. Although they welcome show-bottle sadhus and so-called saints who can satisfy their senses. This is what happens. Many sadhus and saints, so-called, not the real ones, what they do, they talk to people and say that, no, I came across somebody sent me one sadhu talking about, don't be worried about the coronavirus. No, you have to be more positive in life. After all, you know what corona means? Corona means the crown. And so you must see, around the sun there is the outer layer, it's called the corona. So corona means something good. It means the bright light. And you must see the brightness of light in your life. And you must be more positive. Don't be, all these kind of things. You be positive and then work in your life, work hard. And these kind of sadhus, people like to, this is very nice. But the sadhu, his duty is to destroy illusion. Once it is said, Shankaracharya was walking with his few disciples in Varanasi. And then he was going through the different gullies, how Varanasi is. And then when he was walking, he saw an old man with a few students, and he was teaching them grammar, Sanskrit grammar. And then Shankaracharya stopped by and heard for a while, listened to him, and he was describing some grammar, an old man describing some grammar. And that time he was inspired, probably told them, and he was inspired to compose that shloka, Bhaja Govindam, Samprapte Khade Sannihite, Nahi Rakshati, Krim Karani. The Sanskrit grammar that you are teaching, that's not going to help you when death approaches. Bhaja Govindam. So worship Govinda. And this verse, this composition is known as Moha Mudghara Stotra. Mudghara means a hammer. And Moha means illusion. And this composition is supposed to smash illusion. That's the duty of a sadhu. Not to pamper the foolish, already foolish materialistic people and take away, don't give them the reality. Just talk to them, be positive, it's a positive frame of mind, it's all, you should see it that way. Whatever it is, there are miseries in this material world. Is there a solution for that? Your body is getting old. Is there a solution for that? Who am I? What is my true identity? These are the real questions that we must be asking, and a sadhu triggers this kind of an inquiry. A sadhu enlightens the people in the society with this knowledge. And that is the duty of a sadhu. Not to just pamper them and encourage them in more sense gratification. That's why Bhaktivedanta Saraswati Thakur said, when you have a positive frame of mind, look at things in a positive way, and all of those kind of talks that we hear about, yes, it may give us some kind of a solace, when you're having some miseries and difficulties in life, and then you see the bright side of life, be positive and all those kind of talks. Yes, it may give us some kind of a relief, but it's a temporary relief, because eventually it's an inescapable reality of life that we have to experience it. So Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur gave an example. Sometimes you get a boil on your body, and it's very painful. When the boil is very painful, there is one solution you can do. You can blow, and then you feel good. Isn't it? But then how long you can go on blowing? That's not a permanent solution. It may give some little bit of a relief. Real solution is to go to the doctor. The doctor may say, oh, something like this, and then he may do some small little surgery or something, pull out the thing, and then, it may be painful, but then you will get permanent relief. That's the real solution. In the same way, just to give some kind of all this kind of ideas that be positive and all of that. So there may be some relief one may get, but that's not the permanent relief. Permanent relief is to come out of the illusion, have an understanding of life. What is life all about? Who am I? Why this world exists? And who designed this world? And what is the purpose? What is the intent behind that? And if we don't find out these things as human beings, what is it? And that's what Srila Prabhupada concludes in this purport. Vidura was not a sadhu to satisfy the ill-gotten sentiment of Dhritarashtra. He was correctly pointing out the real situation of life. To point out the real situation of life. What is this life about? And how one can save oneself from such catastrophe. This foolish idea, this materialistic idea. Prabhupada concludes the purport by saying this is a catastrophe. Catastrophe means it's a huge disaster in life. So this is how Shastras point out. This is how sadhus point out. If we miss this important understanding in spiritual life, don't think that you have missed something very small. It has been a catastrophe in your life. It's a big calamity in your life if you miss spiritual understanding, if you miss spiritual development. So this is the kind of an argument this is the kind of perspective that the Bhagavatam is presenting. And all of Vidura's talk with Dhritarashtra is to inspire him. This is what is happening to you. Please take to spiritual life. Actually, at the end of the talk, you will see in this chapter, Dhritarashtra quit. That's why this chapter is called Dhritarashtra quits home. He's completely convinced. Vidura's influence was like, this is the duty of a sadhu. This is the result of a sadhu sangha. Sadhu sangha, not that quit home don't get scared. Oh my God, what's going to happen? We're going to associate with sadhus of ISKCON. What's going to happen to us? Don't fear like that. The point is that we take to spiritual life with a lot of seriousness. That is the result of sadhu sangha. So, not that we're going to break families and break homes, and that's not the point. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's teaching is sthane sthitaha. Wherever you are, you be in that situation and hear about Krishna seriously and practice the teachings of Krishna seriously with your family members. That's the instruction, that's seriousness. That I should not be just lost in the temporary activities of the material world, making money, building my estate, acquiring this thing and that thing, and becoming famous, becoming powerful, all of those things. So we work to do all of those things. That is necessary. That's part of life. But that's not that, sometimes we may fail. Everything may not happen the way we want. And then we become completely disillusioned. What's going on? And people get into depression and all of those kind of things. Because we know our lives are running on two tracks. This is what Krishna consciousness teaches. On the one track there is a material life, and there's another track of the spiritual life. And we must work on both the tracks. Material life, we do our duty to the best of our ability. Not that we're going to neglect material life. We will do to the best of our ability. And simultaneously, we are also practicing spiritual life, spiritual understanding, developing these things. Because that is about real truth. And that's what about real situation of what is the real situation in life. That we are understanding, and that progress is only going to enrich our consciousness more and more. And helps us to handle ups and downs that happen in the material world, in the material life. So, not that we're going to give up material track altogether. We continue the material track because that's also part of this material life. And we start off a spiritual track in life and very, very seriously pursue spiritual track. And because one day, when the body is dwindling, as it's happening to Dhritarashtra, at some point this material track has to end. It is not an endless track. The material track ends. At that time, what we have acquired on the spiritual track is the one that's going to save us. All the bank balance, all the estates, all the properties, all the name and fame we have acquired on the material track will just remain there. It is not going to help us. It is what we have acquired, spiritual assets we have acquired on the spiritual track, that is going to save us. So we work on both tracks, and that is spiritual life. So encouraging everyone to continue developing oneself spiritually while performing our material duties. That is the message of Krishna consciousness. We'll stop here. Grantaraj Srimad-Bhagavatam ki, Srila Prabhupada ki. Hare Krishna.